Hello, Ms. Hunter. Hey, Big Kev. Lisa Law. Mr. Jackson. Pastor Linda. Hello, Cat. All right. Hello, Neil. Minister Neil. Or should I say Evangelist Neil? Pastor Mike. All right, we'll give a few more minutes for others to find us, and we'll get going with tonight's Bible study. Well, Mike. Just about another minute or so. Pastor Gwen. This is King. Ishene. All righty. Let's get going with tonight's Bible study. Well, welcome to tonight's Bible study. It is a basic fundamental walk through the Bible. We read some scripture and we share commentary with you. It's commentary on, so we're not concerned about copyright issues. You're free to make comments and leave comments and share thoughts as we go. If you follow along if you follow on Angie Jackson, who is Minister Angie Jackson, she does a wonderful job collecting notes, and so she always leaves very, very good notes for us to follow later. All right, so let's get going tonight's study. Tonight we're going to take a look at Hezekiah, at the story of Hezekiah in 2 Kings, the 20th chapter. Story of Hezekiah in 2 Kings 20, and we're going to look at 2 Kings 20, verse 1 through 7. 2 Kings 20, verse 1 through 7. All right. So tonight's Bible study, 2 Kings chapter 20, verse 1 through 7, and I'm going to read the NIV version. And for a subject line tonight, we're going to use this subject. We're going to call tonight's lesson The Progressive Will of God. You got that? The progressive will of God. And so that's what we're going to look at tonight. All right. Now, I want to point out some things. First of all, when we use the word progressive and talk about progressive will of God, we're not talking about progressive as in God adjusting to you and the ways of the world or the ways things are changing and he changes being God and who he is because things change. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about progressive. All right. Now, God is very well aware of the condition of the world, but he's still God and he stays the same. So we're not talking about that as in redefining God. So I want to be real clear on that. So when I talk about a progressive will of God, let me say it again. I am not talking about redefining who God is. That's important. So what I mean when I talk about a progressive will is it means that God is when God realigns his fulfilled favor to reset your circumstance. You get it? So when I say progressive, I'm talking about God realigning his fulfilled favor to reset your circumstance. All right. And since your circumstance is different from day to day and week to week, therefore I call it progressive. You get it? All right. So does everyone follow what I mean by progressive? I want to be real clear on that. And you'll get better as we go here. So let's start talking about tonight the progressive will of God. That is when God aligns his favor to research your circumstance. You may be in a circumstance right now and you need something to change. You need that circumstance to change. That is when the progressive will of God will move and realign. Be realigned to reset your circumstance. All right. And when it does, things will get better. So let's start to read here the story of Hezekiah, and you'll get a better understanding of what we mean. Here it is. Story of Hezekiah, 2 Kings 20. Here we go, NIV. In those days, Hezekiah became ill and was at the point of death. All right. First, he said Hezekiah became sick, became ill, and was at the point of death. Listen, there may come a time in your life when it look like you're on your way out. It may not be physical life, all right, but you're on your way out. Some things are going to fall apart. It looks like it is on its way. Everything you look at says that's going to happen. When you feel that coming toward you, that is when you want to set a spirit that moves you into a greater understanding and alignment for the progressive will of God to be deposited in your life. Because things will come against you and they will look like they're about to take you out, or they're so challenging you can't get past them. Could be like that in your career and your job. Look like you just cannot make enough money to get past it, and you're hand to mouth, and you're sick of being hand to mouth and look like it's going down. You need to expect the alignment of God's progressive will to take you out of that. But then again, you may be in a situation where you are physically sick. You may have some sickness on your body and it look like it's going to take you out. Don't you settle for that verdict. Do not settle for that verdict. All right. The prophet Isaiah, son of Amos, went to him and said, this is what the Lord says, put your house in order because you're going to die. You will not recover. Now, this is a great prophet of God saying that he's going to die. All right. And guess what? That means it's true. If God said it to the prophet, that means it's true. He's going to die. Again, situations will come against you when all the evidence, the verdict says that you are not going to get past it. That is where Hezekiah finds himself. So what happens with most people when that's the case? They roll over and give up. They cash in the chips, so to speak. Okay? But don't you cash in your chips. As long as you're breathing, as long as you can still see and think, there's an opportunity for the progressive will of God to shift and reset shift you and reset the circumstances to favor you. And that is what I want to encourage you to believe tonight. But this was a true verdict. I want us to repeat that again. This was a true verdict. Okay? All right? Hezekiah, so what did Hezekiah do? He turned his face to the wall and prayed to the Lord. Now look at this. Look at this. Hezekiah, the prophet told him he's going to die. Hezekiah turned his face to the Lord. I'll come back and talk about that more. Remember, Lord, how I have walked before you faithfully and with wholehearted devotion, and have done what was good in your eyes. And Hezekiah wept bitterly. His wept bitterly shows his sincerity about approaching God, not his fear necessarily of the death. Let me say this again. His weeping showed his sincerity about approaching God over or more than his fear of death. And that is what's happened to us. Sometimes we're so busy fearing the verdict, we cannot approach God. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes we are so afraid of the verdict, we cannot approach God with a sincere heart. We are so afraid that we can't even pray well. We think we're praying, but we're not. You need to find that spirit that lets you not look at the verdict, but look up to God. That's what Hezekiah is doing, even though the great prophet had told him he was going to die. All right. Before Isaac had left the middle court, this is verse 4, the word of the Lord came to him, Isaiah, apologize if I said Isaac. Before Isaiah had left the middle court, the word of the Lord came to him, Isaiah. And so Isaiah said, go back and tell Hezekiah, the ruler of my people, this is what the Lord said. The Lord, the God of your father David says, I have heard your prayer and see your tears. I see your sincerity. I will heal you. I see that you really mean this when you approach me. God is saying, I really see you when you really sincerely approach me. You're not just approaching because it's Sunday morning, your time to do devotion. You are sincerely approaching God. You're not doing it because someone said it's your turn to pray, bless the food. You're doing it because you're sincerely approaching God. You're not doing it because of the day of the week or the hour of the week. You're doing it because you're sincerely approaching God. Sometimes the best time to approach God is to pull your car over in the park and get out and sincerely approach God. Sometimes the best time to approach God is to get up in the morning when you walk up to the mailbox, pull up a chair, pull a bench by the mailbox, sit right there, not out of form or fashion, and sincerely approach God. It's time for you to sincerely approach God. Somebody hashtag, I'm on my way to see God. I'm on my way to see God. I'm on my way to see God. That's the attitude you've got to have. So that's where Hezekiah is. It went to him, and God said, I saw it. He said, I will add 15 years to your life. Let me back up and make a point here. Notice Isaiah told him that he was going to die the first time. Then Isaiah went back and told him that he's going to live. Now listen, God's not schizophrenic. That's not a problem, okay? Here's what you have to understand. If the first report was true, then the second report is just as true. You get it? You see, hearing the second report doesn't mean that God wasn't true the first time he said it. What it means is that he is giving Hezekiah an opportunity to walk in his progressive will. And when God is giving you an opportunity to walk in his progressive will, some people will view it, watch this, as God, not as you maybe didn't understand God the first time. Yes, you did. It was true the first time and it's true the second time. God's progressive will shift to reset, will shift you to align you to reset the circumstance. Let me say it more clearly. God's progressive will, watch this, will shift you to align you to receive the deposit that resets your circumstance. The first verdict was true, and the second was just as true. That's why you can always believe God. Now, this is important for you to understand. I'm going to say some things here, and be careful what I'm about to say, because some people are going to miss the point. But let me make it anyway, because this is worth making. Occasionally, but there will be those. I believe that I am a prophet of God. I do believe that I represent God. I believe I'm fivefold. I got that. I got this. But let me tell you something. Occasionally, God will give a prophet a word, and he'll come to you and say something to you. That word is true. But that doesn't mean that you cannot personally go into God's presence and seek his progressive will for an overturn of that verdict. Some prophets will tell you, I said it. Why are you second guessing me? No, I'm not second guessing you. Oh, you're doubting what I say is going to come true? No, I'm not doubting you at all. But I recognize there is a space in God where I can personally go and seek him for his progressive will, specifically for me in my circumstance. That is not disrespectful to a true prophet of God. That is not disrespectful to anyone who walks by God. That is your right and your opportunity to go to your heavenly Father and say, listen, this is one-on-one, me and you, God. I need you to move specifically in my life according to what I need to hear specifically from heaven. You have a right to do that. And any true prophet of God, that will not bother them. That will not bother any true prophet of God that you did that. They won't take it as disrespectful. You get it? So be aware of that. Now, again, there's more that could be said on that, but be aware of that. Point is, you have a right to seek God on your own. That is your right. All right? So God said, verse 6, I will add 15 years of your life. God is going to extend your years. The years you have are going to be extended. The years you have are going to be more fruitful. The time you do have is going to be better than you've ever expected it could be. Maybe you only have 2 more days in that career. Those are going to be the best 2 days of your career. Maybe you've already decided to file papers for a divorce. That's already over and done. What you signed on the dotted line is gone and it's done. I'm not trying to advocate divorce. That's not my point. But it's done. It's done. Okay, it's done. Then I believe your next future is going to be better than the last one that you just left. You get it? And that's what you have to believe. That when you walk in the progressive will of God, that your future is going to be better than your past. I'm going to say it again. When you walk in the progressive will of God, your future is going to be better than your past. Hashtag it. My future is better than my past. My future is better than my past. So he said, he added it to his life. And then verse 7, and I'll stop right there with the reading. Then Isaiah said, prepare the polish of figs. Say, in order to prepare some figs, a fig salve. And they did, and they applied it to his boils, and he recovered. So they prepared an ointment, okay, to put on the boils. You notice that? And he recovered. Now, this is important to know. God is not against traditional medicines. He's not against treatments. And notice what happened here. You might ask the question, well, wait a minute. Shouldn't Hezekiah have known about the figs before God spoke to him? And couldn't he have done this without speaking to God? Well, the truth of the matter is he didn't know about it until he spoke to God. What's my point? Sometime God will give you a revelation, or will give you a revelation to bring about your healing by a method that was right around you, but you didn't have the insight to get it or grasp it or receive it. Sometime God will give you a revelation to go to a conference and somebody will be talking about the medicines that you need. Sometime God will give you a revelation to go to the supermarket and somebody there having the same problem you're having will say, here's what worked for me and it'll work for you. Sometime God will put you in a position to receive what's naturally there, but you never would have saw it without his revelation. Sometimes God will send you to the right doctor to figure out what's wrong with you. You get it? That's what he did with Hezekiah. He shifted it and said, Hezekiah, I'm going to give you these more years. And here's what I want to do. Watch this now. Coming back to it. I want you to confirm that you believe that I'm talking to you by taking this ointment and putting it on you for your recovery. You get it? Many times God will do that. He said, I want you to demonstrate that you really heard me and that you understand that I am working in your life. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to study a little harder. I want you to work a little cleaner. I want you to be more truthful. I want you to give more boldly. I want you to help more earnestly to demonstrate that you really heard me. And that helps God to recognize that you respect the fact that you're walking in his progressive will. That as the events of your life are shifting, you are now ready when God gives you a new revelation for your new circumstance. And that's what he was doing with Hezekiah. He was confirming in Hezekiah that he had a spirit to listen through it all. And I'm going to ask you the question now. Do you have a spirit to listen for God's voice through it all and respond even when it doesn't make perfect sense to you? You get it? So that's where Hezekiah is. All right? All right? Yeah. All right. So let me share with you then a few more things here. All right? When it comes to God's progressive will, and again, that's what I like to call this segment to help us understand it. If you wrote the article, you might call it something else, but this is what we see this as, God's progressive will. When it comes to this God's progressive will, there is not a clear-cut process, okay, by which it happens, okay? There are some holes in our understanding. That's why we need revelation, okay? But there are some clear principles for how you can position yourself to be aligned when the deposit comes. You get it? So there's some principles you can use that will help you to be better aligned when God sends his deposit according to his progressive will. And let me share those with you, 5 of them. Here we go. Ready? Number 1, acknowledge the truth about your circumstance. That's number 1. Acknowledge the truth about your circumstance. I know you're from the Name It, Claim It church. I got that. And I also know some of you from the, I'm not going to claim that church. I got that. I'm not going to say anything about that. I got that. But listen, 1 + 1 still equals 2. If you cut your finger, it bleeds. Saying, I'm not going to claim that, it's bleeding now. If the doctors read what we call cancer, it is cancer. If the doctors read what we call diabetes, it is diabetes. I'm not going to claim diabetes. I got that, but you still have it. You get it? So you cannot pretend that it doesn't exist. You get it? So you have to acknowledge the truth about your circumstance. Hezekiah acknowledged the truth about his circumstance, that he was about to die. Acknowledge your circumstance. You're not making it. You're not getting there. You didn't work at it. Something happened. Okay, you're sick. You are sick. You do have that medically diagnosed disease. Well, I'm not going to claim it. I got that. Okay, I hear you, but you do have it. So acknowledge the truth about your circumstance. That doesn't stop God from working. He's not a magician. He's God. You got it? All right. Number 2, believe the spiritual revelation. The prophet spoke it. It's spoken. You have to believe it. Progressive will may take you to a new alignment, which it did at Hezekiah, but you have to believe the spiritual revelation. When it comes, that is the spiritual revelation. It's been revealed to you. That's what it is. Number 3, trust your relationship with God. Don't doubt that you don't have a great relationship with God. Trust your relationship with God. You've got to believe that you have a great relationship with God, that he is your father, and that he really does want the best for you. Number 4, turn from your distress to the face of God. This helps your alignment. Turn from your distress to the face of God. The reason many people aren't getting their breakthroughs today is because they're spending too much time in their distress. Okay? That's like some people you talk to. If you say something positive, give them 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 30 seconds, they're going to find something negative. They're going to find the negative side of it. There are some people can always find the negative side of absolutely everything. That's because they have a fear position and they always see the distress. You've got to stop looking at the distress and look to the face of God. Number 5, listen with confidence for the reprieve. Listen with confidence for the reprieve. When you ask God, get up, turn around looking for it. If God said he's going to put food on your table, as soon as you get up from your knee, get your knife and your fork. If you like a napkin, sit down. Okay, you don't have a napkin, get a paper towel. Do whatever it takes, sit down there, pull out the dishes, and tell the children, set up and say, let them eat, and believe God's going to do something. So those are the 5 principles that will help you position for alignment for the deposit, because the deposit is coming with the spirit of progressive will. Okay? So how do we define this thing I've called progressive will? You ready? I'm going to define it for you. The progressive will of God is the move of God in the earth in a direct response to you who believe that God is merciful enough to overturn the clearly defeating verdict on your circumstance. Let me say that again. The progressive will of God is the move of God in the earth in a direct response to you. You're the seeker. You who are seeking God, who believe that God is merciful enough to overturn the clearly defeating verdict on your circumstance. If there's a clearly defeating verdict on your circumstance, it's time for you to turn your face to God and seek his progressive will for your specific circumstance. In other words, God sends his miracle because you boldly ask with credible faith. God sends his will because you asked with credible faith. You asked with credible faith and he delivered to you. And so my question to you tonight is, do you have credible faith? Because that's what it's going to take to move into the progressive will of God. Credible faith that says, I know the verdict I'm looking at. It is true. I know the meter's red, but I believe that God is going to overturn it. And he's going to give me the process by which to confirm that I heard him. So with that, I'm going to give you three things to watch out, 3 don'ts of the progressive will of God. There are 3 don'ts of the progressive will of God that will help you stand firm in your position to believe that God can overturn what's after you. There's a verdict, there's a circumstance you just don't see a way through. Do something to confirm that you hear God tonight saying you will get through it. Do something that says, I heard God tonight. Hashtag, I heard God tonight. Ready? 3 don'ts of the progressive will of God. Number 1, don't accept your season of despair as a verdict for a lifetime of distress. Don't accept your season of despair as a verdict for a verdict of a lifetime of distress. Your season of despair is not a lifetime, has not sentenced you to a lifetime of distress. Number 2, don't accept what are truly the facts of your situation as the final straw. Don't accept what are truly the facts of your situation as the final straw. There are facts of your situation. Okay? All right? The facts are true, but don't accept those facts as the final straw. That is not the final straw. All right? And you need to believe that it is not the final straw. Number 3, don't accept your current moment as an eternal mandate over your life. Don't accept your current moment as an eternal mandate over your life. What you're going through right now doesn't mean this is what you'll go through the rest of your life. And you have to now start to do things to confirm that you hear God about that in your life. If you believe you're going to have a college degree, then you need to get up and enroll somewhere or start to save the money. If you believe you're going to buy a home, you need to start saving the money or start looking for the plot. If you believe you're going to have a great marriage, stop fussing and fighting and start going out on dates or do something else. You get the point. Do something that confirms that you heard God. All right? You see, the progressive will of God lets you seek outside of your circumstance. Let me say that a little more clearly. The progressive will of God lets you seek outside of your circumstance. You need to seek outside of what you're going through. You need to seek outside of what's happening to you. You need to seek outside of all your emotions that say this or say that has you in bondage and in fear. You need to seek outside of your negativity. You need to seek outside of the things that you believe you ought to be doing that don't please God, whatever they may be. All right? Because the progressive will of God, all right, says that you are, here's what it says. The progressive will of God says that you are fully aware of your deficit. Progressive will of God says you are fully aware of your deficit or your potential for defeat. But you refuse to let that be your final testimony. You get it? The progressive will of God says that you are aware that there is a shortage, there is a deficit, that there's a potential for you not to make it, that your circumstance is a defeating circumstance, but you refuse to let that situation or that circumstance be your final testimony. Yes, you have cancer, but when they say, oh, he died of cancer. No, he lived with cancer. You get it? All right. He's going through a bad divorce. No, he's starting a new life with who God has created him to be now. You get it? That's what it says. Oh, you didn't become the CEO of the company. No, it says that I became the CEO of my company, not theirs. You get it? It says that despite the circumstance, you refuse to let that be the testimony. You refuse to let them say that you lost or you became defeated or you didn't win, because you recognize you are still more than a conqueror. So there you have it. The progressive will of God is waiting to do something wonderful in your life. It is waiting for you. It's coming to you to shift you into alignment for your deposit. So when the sentence on your circumstance is more than you can handle, turn your spirit to God with the expectation that he will lift it from your life. Your future destiny speaks of life. Move on with hope. This is Dr. Anthony Revis, Faith Ministries Church, Midland, Michigan, USA. God bless.